Well, welcome back to the program. Just before we went on the break, we had the former deputy governor of Kogi State, Elder Achuba, being vocal about his side of a story and how he believes that the process of impeaching him was unconstitutional. So let's get the perspective of the state government. And joining us to do that is Mr. Kingsley Fanwo, the DG Media to Kogi State government. Good evening and thank you for joining us. All right, I see you have a smile on your face, but we'd like to get your reactions to the issues raised by Elder Achuba about the swearing in of a new deputy governor, about his impeachment, and other issues he raised. How do you respond to them?
What you said, that he's still the deputy governor of the state. This is not the first time I'm hearing such. I heard that a few days ago when the new chief of staff to the governor, pharmacist Abdulkarim Asuku, placed the call to him concerning the diabolical object we found in his residence, that he should come and pick his small god. Then he told him point blank that he was referring to the deputy governor. The point is that he has been impeached. He has been impeached after the panel of inquiry that looked into the allegations against him submitted its report to the House of Assembly. So the House of Assembly considered it, and they found out that with the report, there were a lot of things there that could lead to his impeachment. So they decided to impeach him, and he has been impeached. He's still impeached, and he's the former deputy governor of the state.
You know, Mr. Fanwo, the major issue here, when this discussion comes up, is always the legality of the impeachment process. And when you look at the Constitution, it is clear about, how impeachment processes should go when the panel of inquiry is raised, how they should consider this report, and what have you. So looking at the Constitution and what happened at the Kogi State House of Assembly, do you think they tally?
My brother, the process was quite seamless. There was no problem. Allegations were raised, and they were referred to. The chief judge of the state set up a panel. The panel looked into the allegation. I was one of the principal witnesses at the panel, and I stated my own side of the case. For him to come here and say that the report exonerated him, it's untrue, because from what I told the panel alone, that was enough to nail him, because he violated the Constitution.
So did the panel find him guilty, or just your statements found him guilty? Which one are you saying now?
The panel submitted their report not to the executive, because the executive had no hand in his impeachment. So they didn't submit the report to the executive. The report was submitted to the person that set up the panel for onward transmission to the House of Assembly. The House of Assembly looked into it and then took their decision. So all the necessary procedures and processes were followed constitutionally, and therefore the impeachment is something that has come to stay. We have a brand new deputy governor in the state now who has since resumed his duties.
So when you say there were breaches, he breached, sworn oath and what have you, what exactly were those breaches? Especially because you also said you're a witness to it. So what are those breaches that you mentioned?
He came here on Channels Television to tell the world that he had not been paid his salaries since 2017. We were able to establish the fact that he had been paid. I was not the only witness there. The permanent secretary in his former office was also there. The accountant, the director of accounts in his former office was also there, and they tendered all the evidences that show that he only came here to blackmail and peddle falsehood against the state government.
So do you have proof to that effect on one hand? And when you say he's been paid, do you mean he's been paid all his salaries and allowances, or what exactly? Can you clear the air?
We came here, we were able to prove it. I came here the following day. He appeared here to peddle those allegations. I was there the following day, and I proved it to the whole world that he had been paid. I was there, I think, first week of August. And I told the world he had been paid his July salary. He could not deny it, because I came here with printout of the statements that were used and all of that. So he also alleged that the governor had a killer's code. He could not prove that before the panel. And that alone is a very serious issue. So even as we stand now, we are considering peddling a lot of charges against him in the law court now that he has lost his immunity.
Okay, so I'd like to still stay with that issue of payment because you listened to him tonight and he said he has not been paid because I tried to get him, to speak clearly to that.
He
So
has been
all
paid.
his allowances and
He
salaries?
he has always been paid his salaries, and that we were able to prove here. So it is expected that out of bitterness and the fact that he has lost his seat to a brand new deputy governor, he will come here to say that. We have proofs. If you invite me back to this program, I will bring all the documents to prove that we've never stopped his salary. Even when he was not coming to work, we kept paying him all his salaries. He has received a lot of allowances, some that were not even defensible, but because of the humanity in the governor, he was able to pay those things. For instance, he spent over 100 million to correct just a finger issue. So these are some of the issues. Allowances are not something that you just pay at once like that. There are a lot of allowances that are there. It takes processes. You submit your request to the governor, it will be approved. Then we look at all the approvers and look at the resources that we have and then scale it on that to know which one we are going to pay first or not.
So you're saying
it is possible that
so you're saying not all of them have been paid. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say all his allowances because some have not even been approved as we speak. So we can't pay what has not been approved.
So you're alluding to some of the things he said, saying he has not entirely been paid.
I am saying that what is his right, which has to do with his monthly salaries, we've paid that up to the time he left office.
All right. You know
so
what?
We are not owing him any salary at all.
Okay, I believe this issue is in court and we'll get the unfoldings in the coming days. But let's take a look at some of the other issues that came up. Now, earlier on, we asked him if he has taken this up with the party, with the president, and what have you. So I'd like to get your perspective. What is the position of the APC, both at the state level and at the national level regarding this, string of incidents?
It is not going to be convenient and comfortable for Elder Simon Achuba to approach the party because it was obvious that even in the elections in February and March, he worked clearly against the party. So he would have been able to have soft landing with the party if he had worked with the party and helped to deliver his area. But he worked clearly against the party, and that would make it very difficult for him to get the sympathy of the party on this issue.
All right, so let's talk about the coming governorship election in this state. I understand that the intensity is climbing fever pitch right now. So let's begin with this talk about the former deputy governor and him, falling out with the current governor. And the big question is, what will that mean to the chances of your party in the coming elections? Because whether you like it or not, he has his own supporters too.
We've tested the microphone yesterday with a flag off. We didn't hold our flag off at the state capital. We took it to the extreme end of the state, which is the cultural headquarters of the Galan nation, to hold our flag off. And you could see from the pictures that your correspondent sent to you that it was a huge success, and that the people of the state and the people of the Eastern Senatorial District, where he hails from, are solidly behind the governor. And definitely they would ensure that their votes are solidly delivered to Governor Yahaya Bello on November 16th.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the candidates in this coming election, because I understand it's going to be quite heated. And if we could just run you through some of the 23 candidates that we have for you tonight. There you see candidates from different parties, male, female, different age categories. Well, I see that I believe the youngest here is about 38 years old, but you see that list, and up to 23 of them. Now, Mr. Fanwo, you have seen some of these candidates and their pedigree. And it calls to question what the governor has in store if he wins a second term in the light of these candidates that have come up. So what are we expecting to change if he wins?
Yeah, with due respect to the parties and the candidates that are vying for the position of the governorship on November 16, I would want to say it is going to be a straight fight between the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party. And I am very confident. I am not overconfident, but I'm very, very confident that the governor would come out triumphant. And but I'm very sure that he's going to consolidate on his many achievements in his first term.
All right, so I'd like to show you something. It's a report, a 2019 State of States report by Budget. I believe you have heard about that report. And according to this report from Budget, it says Kogi State ranks lowest on state's fiscal sustainability index. And this basically says that the government is not raising enough money to maintain public finances and obligations. It also says that Kogi State closed 2018 with a total debt portfolio of 94.6 billion naira, with domestic debt standing at 84.9 billion naira and external debt coming to about 31.6 million US dollars. It also goes on to say that the FAC uptake remains the bedrock of the state's finances, accounting for 82% in 2018. From this report, I mean, that's a lot of work for the governor. So how did you get to this stage, and what are your plans for the future?
I think there are also a lot of other very credible organizations that have rated us well. We've done very well as a government, and the governor has done a lot to cushion poverty in the land, and he has also done a lot to improve human capital development in the state. So I will question to a very large extent the credibility of such report, because it is at variance to the reality on ground in Kogi State. However, we are not saying that we have taken Kogi completely out of the doldrums in which the PDP dipped it for 16 years. We have not done that completely, but I want to assure the people of Kogi State that this governor will continue to put in his best to ensure that he takes Kogi to the next level.
You know, what this report is saying in essence, let me just try to break it down, is basically FAC accounts for a majority of the funds that come into the state. And this report also takes note of the vast natural resources you have in Kogi State, especially because it's home to large industries, cement industries, and what have you. So it begs the question, how much are you tapping into these resources if you have to rely 82% on FAC?
We're finding it very difficult to tap into these resources. We have very good arable land in the state. We should have been able to do very well in agriculture, but we had problems with security before this administration came. Before you can talk about tapping into resources, mineral resources and all of that, you have to talk of security, because even farmers could not stay in their farms for fear of being kidnapped by kidnappers. We had this very terrible problem before the advent of this administration. So before you can tap into resources and be able to improve on these various sectors that could improve the economy, you would definitely have to improve your security. So we've laid a lot of resources into ensuring that we improve security. And even our opponents are saying and alluding to the fact that the governor has been #1 in terms of fighting crimes in the state. So now that we have been able to stabilize that, we can now start talking of consolidating on that.
All right. I think that's a great place to leave it. But I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Kingsley Fanwo, the DG Media to Kogi State Government. Thank you for speaking to us about the plans of the state government ahead of its coming elections.